am so grateful for our faith in the Lord and for His hand in our lives. Because again, without Him, we would have been a complete and utter disaster.
I remember when Mandy's water broke, totally different experience for us than the first time around.
The labor and delivery went really well, and our son was born. He was just over 8 pounds, 21 inches long, and had a head full of blonde hair.
When he finally came, I remember the doctor, hollering out, and, "Oh, you got a blondie."
I have several nieces, and Caleb was the first boy in our family.
I remember holding him and just kind of feeling that sense of, yes, I have a son. And I remember leaving to go home to be with our daughter, Allie. So I left, and Mandy stayed that night.
And around midnight, the door, cracked open, and all this light flooded in. I started to sit up in bed, but it wasn't the nurse pushing the baby through the door like you're used to seeing. It was our pediatrician, Dr. Barrett.
Received a phone call a little after midnight, and it was Mandy, and she basically just told me that, "Hey, Dr. Barrett wants to talk to you." And he got on the phone and he said, hey Lance, I need to let you know your son's got a bad heart. It's not pumping the way that it should, and he's definitely having some problems. And I remember just really feeling numb and in a lot of ways just waiting to just wake up. She took me back to see Caleb, and I walked in, and of course he was covered in all kinds of cords and wires, and it just was really scary for me.
He was breathing really, really deeply and having a very hard time, and covered in wires and hooked up to all the machines, and people are buzzing all around him and trying to do different things, and it was just a completely different child than I had seen 3 hours previous. I started packing my bag because he let us know that we were going to be heading to Dallas to try to figure out what was wrong with Caleb.
And then I remember them talking about just, what, you guys can go ahead and go on over there. They've got places for us to stay, and so go ahead and head on over. And so we did.
That was a long 2-hour drive to Dallas. It was really silent for a very long time in the car, and I remember Lance finally saying, "Get my Bible out and find something for us to read."
I remember her reading scripture from the Word as if it was just well placed. I finally pulled in, talked to the people there where he was supposed to be transported to in the NICU, and they told us he wasn't there. And that was really hard because we thought he had already left, and it was actually ahead of us, and that we were the ones behind. But come to find out, he wasn't there.
It was tragic because we got there and the attending doctor just looked at us so confused, like, "Why are you even here? You should have stayed with your son." And we were instructed to leave. She told us that Caleb had taken a turn for the worst, and we were terrified. We're 2 hours away from our son. He's dying, and we can't be near him.
And about that time, a phone rang at the desk. And I remember the guy saying, "Hey, it's the chaplain at Trinity." And I just kind of looked at Manny. I was like, "Why would we need a chaplain?" And I just remember taking a deep breath and kind of going, "Okay, like, this is how this goes." And I got on the phone, and the chaplain was just seeing if we needed any help in dealing with grief. And I remember being like, "I don't know, do I? Like, you obviously know more than I do at this time." And turned out he didn't know anything. He was just calling to check on us. And Mandy, I remember her just kind of crumpling into my arms, at that point thinking that we had lost him.
And we waited for a couple hours, and then we found out that Caleb was there, and so we ran down, and they let us go back and see him, and we got to hold his little fingers and talk to him. He had a great little spot next to a window.
And I just remember that feeling of, yes, like, finally, like, we're reunited.
Every time we went back to see Caleb, they had another answer for us. We've ruled this out, we've ruled that out.
I remember them kind of really looking into it more and doing more tests and seeing what it is for sure. And so sitting down and talking with them again, and he said, okay, here's what it is. We were right. It is TAPVR.
And so his body was only receiving half oxygenated blood.
It's definitely going to be a surgery. We'll probably do it in a couple of weeks. And I just remember thinking, wow, like here it is, my son, 2 days old, and he's about to have surgery on his heart.
My mom, our 13-month-old, and Lance and I lived in a hotel room, and we just, for a week and a half, would just travel back and forth between that hotel and the hospital.
I remember a few days after that, we met with the surgeon. Walked into the room, and it turned out that the surgeon was a former family camper, the camp that I work at. And it just, again, one of those moments of, he's in this, like the Lord is in this. And for us to just continue to say, Lord, he's yours. This is your baby.
We kissed him one last time and said goodbye, and they rolled him off, and it was the most clear picture, for me anyways, in a tangible earthly way, of what God had to do when he sent his son Jesus to the cross.
A few days later, they were talking about the idea of being able to send Caleb home with us. And I remember it was almost that fear of, well, I don't think we want to take him home. Like, I think he needs to stay here and have this care. And they just kept reminding us, like, he's fine. Like, he's a normal boy.
He came home on no medication, a little bit of Tylenol for pain, and that kid has never looked back. He is a ball of energy that never stops talking or running or moving.
I just remember like celebrating and saying, wow, like what a mighty God we have.
I'm so grateful for our faith in the Lord and for his hand in our lives. Because again, without him, we would have been a complete and utter disaster. I'm Mandy, and
I'm Lance, and that's our story.